So we talked about I mentioned what is forbearance. Bearing of all afflictions means to bear all the pain that you have inside without wanting to change it, and being free at the same time from anxiety. It means just observing it without wanting it to go away, even though the habit of the mind would be wanting to get rid of it. You observe that too. That's just the habit of the mind. You have to watch that. And this is what's called forbearance. Means you forbear everything without being anxious about it, with the recognition that this is also going to change. This is just a wave passing through in the ocean, and you are the ocean, not the wave. Although the wave might mistaken itself to be only a wave, that's okay. This is the I thought that imagines itself as a separate entity. So pain is not a bad thing. It's an opportunity. It creates it is a catalyst. It doesn't create. It is a catalyst for some people to wake up. This is why Buddha said enlightenment is the end of suffering. And then they ask him, what then? Then he said, find out for yourself. So there is pain that the mind has to go through it. This is why this work is not for everyone, because the majority of the people or the minds don't want to go through the pain. They're just seeking pleasure and avoiding pain, yet the pain hunts them down.
Let me see if I understand something. Is it the sensation of the body that it's that wave that it's going to change? Because I think I'm more accepting of the sensation of the body than of the thoughts that are in my head, that it just keep revolving around and around and playing. It's like I replay things that I don't want to replay. You know? If I have to go and cry and shout, I can do that. But why all these thoughts are coming? You know, even though I know they're just thoughts and they're not valid.
Because they come to cleanse, to clear themselves out. This thought replaying and replaying themselves when the mind's stuck on an idea or fear, it's for everyone. I experienced it too. And you cannot stop that. You cannot. Because the moment you try to stop it, you fight with that, it sustains it. Yet observe it. This is also gonna change. It's not gonna stick. If you can observe it without resisting it, means without wanting it to be different. And even if you want it to be different, just be aware of that and don't move. Stay.
What does it mean, stay?
Means
stay still, bodily stay, or?
Staying still physically is good, because then you see the movement of the thoughts and you're more aware of the bodily sensation. And if you move, anyway, when you stop, all this comes back playing itself. Because it can play itself when you suddenly stop in the bathroom, or you stop in a moment you don't occupy yourself, or when it just comes in and you're dreaming with your eyes wide open and your senses open, still replaying itself. Yet a lot of the motions of the body is to avoid just seeing it.
Exactly.
Whatever you resist persists. And when it persists with much more force that you can stop. So surrender is observing it.
nothing's happening.
This is what we do in the retreat. Is no matter what insanity comes in people's minds, and the mind is insane, you train yourself to be with it, whether you like it or not. Because the mind, out of habit, does not like it. Not that it does not like it, it hates it.
I know, I hate it.
It just makes you stronger and build your ability to forbear anything that comes into your life without being afraid.
Well, I am afraid.
What are you afraid of?
You know, when I was much younger, since I was very young, I always had this, like if something went wrong, you could always kill yourself. And I never acted out on that, but it was just thought that it always in the back of my mind, like it was your last card, you know. But there was this belief that of course you don't kill yourself because you don't, you know. And but then as the years pass by, and I do understand. Actually, maybe it was the easiest part to grasp, that if we're not the body, then what is all this fight about? And that's why I didn't want to talk today, because am I supposed to say this? Am I supposed to tell people that if I could choose, I would just die and I would be perfectly okay with it because the source is not going to change anyway? And all this being born and doing it and learning and coming back, and it's just heavy. I don't want it. It was a bad mistake for me to come back here. I don't know what it is. And it has nothing to do with it, dog. It just repeated itself for a long time in my life. And then I just pretend I'm not thinking. And then I go back into my stuff and I do other things and I distract myself. And then eventually it comes back. And but now I'm not afraid to die. That's the difference. So that's what I'm scared of now. Yeah. Because dying doesn't exist anyway.
The thing is,
I know this is all thoughts, but these are the thoughts that I have. And I don't enjoy having those thoughts, you know. I don't want to go through the day and thinking, oh, wish I would just crash the car. I don't want to have those thoughts. Am I supposed to sit with that thought and observe the thought?
Yes. Because you think it's only your personal thoughts. Maybe you don't recognize that these thoughts actually just universal, because I had these kind of thoughts as well. Even as childhood, I had many times I just wanted to die. I just wanted to kill myself. All I thought is like, what is the best way I would kill myself? Because of fear. Because I was afraid to feel something inside me.
Exactly.
An unpleasant sensation, an unpleasant feeling, a thought I didn't like of being failure, how I would be perceived, that I would not succeed, no matter what it is.
Exactly. It is here. It's here and continued. Before my mother died, I always had it under control because I never hurt myself because I would kill my mom. But my mom died 3 years ago, and it was almost a relief because now that she's gone, now I can do whatever I want. Because who's going to be hurt anyway? You know? And I'm not saying I'm going to do it. It is all in my mind all the time. And well, not all the time, but more often than I would like to. And I really don't have the confidence to say this to anybody. I said it one time in Minnesota when I was with some friends, and they called some hospital, you know, and they put me in this place because I wanted to kill myself. And I didn't want to kill myself. I was just thinking about it.
I say that it's basically just people just afraid. It's just that you realize that killing the body is not really killing yourself. Because
I know, so that's a good thing.
1 second. When you kill the body, it's basically the ones who wants to kill itself is the ego wants to kill itself, and because it is believing it is a physical body, it thinks that if it would kill the physical body, it would finish the story. Yet the story is not going to be finished. There is no way out by killing the body. Because sometimes people tell me, I want to kill the body. I say, go ahead, kill the body. What holds you back? And they say, whoa, why do you say such a thing? I point them, killing the body doesn't resolve and save you from the pain, because whatever you didn't learn this round, the mind will take another body and you would go through it again until you come free out of it, consciously aware through a physical body. So killing the body doesn't resolve it. If you want to kill the one who wants to kill the body, you have to observe it. Be totally aware of it. This is how you kill it, not
because
any other way.
I do know that part. I mean, I don't know if I know it, but I felt like, what if then I go somewhere else and it's not better? You know? Like, I know it's not the end of it.
It's so going somewhere else when? Physically?
Yeah, like what you just said, it's exactly what I thought before. It's like, okay, imagine if I really have the nerve and I kill this body. And what if I find myself in a worse place, you know? In my mind.
Yeah.
And that's what doesn't solve anything. But I don't want to have these thoughts every day. Instead of thinking what I'm going to have for lunch or when I'm going to walk my dogs, I'm thinking, what if I kill myself? You know, it's just...
You can ask, what if you kill yourself? There's a book, I don't remember his name, he's a psychiatrist. He was doing hypnosis for 27 people and they start sharing past lives. And what was interesting, he documented it. In the beginning he kept it secret because he thought that his colleagues would think he's totally crazy, that there's past lives, because he was very conservative. And it was interesting because when the people in different lives kill themselves, when the soul went in the space in between birth, everyone has a master, a teacher. It depends on the evolution of the soul that is always more evolved. And the masters were saying, they didn't reprimand the soul, they just pointed out that they were disappointed because basically they didn't really learn the lesson that they were supposed to. So they will have to go back and still relearn that lesson through a physical body. So killing the physical body doesn't resolve it. The physical body is a gift for you to wake up from this dream. You need a physical body to wake up from this dream. This is why we have a physical body. This is why we go through all of that. So you're not the physical body, yet you need a physical body to wake up from this dream.
This was what I guess I wanted to ask. If we're not the body, well, we did have this body for it.
You got the answer.
Yes.
The body is a very rare gift. It's the most important object the mind has to wake up from the dream. Because when you don't perceive the physical body in the waking state and you're dreaming, and in the dream you lose the object of the worlds, right? You lose all the objects. Means there is no physical body, yet the dream appears totally real.
Yes.
So when you lose the physical body in death, even if the soul moves to other dimensions, which it does, it cannot wake up from the dream. It needs to come back to a physical body and wake up from the dream in the waking state, when the senses are fully open. So we need a physical body to wake up.
Bad news.
Or good news. It all depends how you look at it. It's again, when you go through pain and grief, I tell and I point people, and I mentioned it in Mexico, even if it's a death of a dear one, and you are experiencing enormous pain, you don't experience the pain because of the death of someone. You experience the pain because it's all still inside you. And it just was a trigger for that pain to come into the surface. And if you're conscious enough, is to be able to observe it and fully experiencing it. Fully experiencing it means not wanting it to go away, not wanting to get rid of it. Although the habits will play themselves out. I don't want it, I want to get rid of it, trying to avoid it. Yet if you can just see that and be aware of that, it loses the power gently, slowly, as long as it takes.
So then if the obsessive thoughts keep coming back, I have to stay with them. I should stay with them instead of trying to fight it and say, well, I should have this thought because I already know it's not true anyway.
Yeah, you're better off just watching it. Can you just watch it like watching a movie? So what happens watching a movie, you can close your eyes or close the movie.
Yeah.
Here you cannot close your eyes because the movie is nothing to do with your physical eyes. And you cannot close it because it appears and disappears in its own accord.
Exactly. Yeah, you know this. You say it better than I would say it, but that's exactly what's going on.
Because I went through it.
So then it just goes back to the basics that I just don't want to be in pain. That's what all this craziness is about. I don't want the pain.
I don't want to experience pain. Recognize, acknowledge it, yet observe when the mind reacts to it. Because all that happens is you have certain thoughts and you have pain from within, and now the mind reacts to it. So in many traditions, on the highest practice, which is not a practice, is you observe it as it is.
That is what meditation. Is that why we sit in meditation?
Yes.
So there's answers that come, or it's not about answers?
It's about seeing, not necessarily answers. Even when you question, it's about what you see because of the question that sets you free. You are the seer, not the seen, Maro. The seer who sees the scene here is the thoughts. And then there is the seer, which is the mind that sees the thought, the emotions or the bodily sensation. And it reacts to the unpleasant sensation. That's all that happens, nothing more. It's no big deal.
Sounds simple.
It is simple. Now to go through it, you have to have the warrior inside you. You have to have the courage, because the majority of the people are not willing. So they go and they seek drugs. They go and they seek distraction. They try to shift from pain. They're seeking pleasure. This is why in the retreat people want to run away when they face pain. They want to run away. People wanted to kill me just so they can run away. From themselves, nothing to do with me.
I think I'm willing. I think I'm willing to see this.
What?
I think I'm willing to go through this.
Have you noticed you don't have any choice?
Yes.
Good.
But that's what makes it heavy and hard.
The heaviness is just a cleanse you have to go through. Even when if the body gets sick, yes? Nobody wants to go through it, yet the disease for the body is a form of healing. So you go through a form of healing that it's mental and emotional pain, healing.
So if the events in life are not going to stop, because there's always going to be events and there's always going to be pain and there's always going to be that,
no,
it just makes it easier?
No, we do not know that there will always be pain. When there is less, here in the Viveka he talks about one of the things that happens is when the mind is withdrawing, then it stops being affected by external objects. Basically what happens right now, things that arises from inside cause bodily sensation, and now the mind reacts to the bodily sensation. That's the vicious cycle.
Yes.
Right? So now the more you observe it, and the mind reacts to the bodily sensation, and you just observe it, and you don't keep reacting to this reaction. And even if you do, and you observe that too, that reactivity of the mind to the bodily sensation gets weaker and weaker. It loses the power. The reactivity of the mind to thoughts, to undesired thoughts, gets weaker and weaker. So when the reactivity gets weaker to undesired thoughts, the undesired thoughts have to come into the surface, and they clear themselves, they free themselves.
Without all this body sensation and fight and love.
Without the conflict, without wanting it to be different.
Okay. I get it. I do get it.
Yes. You have the wisdom inside you that it knows it. If it hears the truth, it knows it is the truth. It's not the ego that wants to get rid or basically doesn't want to experience the unpleasant sensation or the unpleasant thoughts. Yeah, it's the ego says, I go crazy from these thoughts, and it keeps reacting to it, so it sustains like this the craziness. You cannot stop that. I couldn't. When it's really strong, I couldn't ever stop it. And if somebody else that they did, maybe they were still in control. If they truly came to the point that the mind, it was out of control, they couldn't control that. So all that was left is to observe it. And then when you cultivate the observer standpoint, being almost aloof at it, watching it, you are actually awakening the witness standpoint. The witness standpoint, or with the witness point of view, has no preferences. It has no likes or dislikes. It has no craving or aversion. It just witnesses as it is.
Until the moment when then the body is not useful anymore.
No, I'm not talking about the body stops useful. Until the storm of the thoughts passes, that's all. It's just a storm. And if you look at the weather, In nature, the weather is constantly changing. Maro. The mind is nature. The bodily sensation is nature. Is not separate from nature. Is not different than nature.
Okay. Well, then I guess I'm going to sit with it.
Just be aware of whatever is arising and observe it. If you can question it, then you're supposed to question it. If you cannot question it, means you're not supposed to.
That's what I was forcing myself. I was trying to question it, and it would just go worse.
The mind is just reacting. That means that's what I hear. Going worse is just the mind reacting. And this is also changes.
Okay.
So you might remind yourself, even that when you go through difficult time, is that this is also going to change. This is also going to pass through. This is not permanent. It is fleeting in nature.
Okay.
We can talk anytime.
Thank you.
So you